Live streaming is on. Okay, well, so let's try this again. This is S. Ladybug checking in with Yarn Movement. I am the pilot of Yarn Movement. Yarn Movement is a global fashion and lifestyle brand created to inspire consumers like yourselves to value craftsmanship. Craftsmanship is all about those who are the artisans behind the craft. And my mission and goal is to not only honor and value the craftsmanship, those people who their hands are going into their love, their energy, the things that are being created, but also inspiring the next generation. And that's why we're here today. And every Sunday when we come together, I'm going to be talking about Believe in What You Dream and the fundraiser that I'm hosting for Believe in What You Dream. So let's take this a little bit back a little bit. Okay. So just take it back to where and who I am and where I got started. So at age 12, I was spending a whole lot of time with my grandmother and her friends. And it's during that time that I learned the importance of creating a support group that is empowered by creativity, a space where you can share freely, you can be who you are. And it's in those spaces that you feel this energy of confidence that is, almost turned on or ignited in your soul to make you want to move forward. And so with Believe in What You Dream, I'm traveling around all over the globe, and with the focus in rural areas, especially to work with girls to help them click that fire, that flame, help ignite them a little bit quicker than it happened for myself and probably many of you who are watching this. I don't know if you're like me, but growing up, I was always told, follow your dreams. But even if you know the definition of follow, you also know that the term follow means that you have to have something that you're following, meaning a roadmap, or I like to call it a flight plan. You have to understand where you're going on this flight. It's cool if you want to jump in your pilot seat, but it's nice to at least have some kind of understanding of training, and a flight plan of understanding where you're going. And so I utilize crochet as a way to easily manipulate the mind to understand that there's a connection that has to happen between your thoughts and your hands. And that's whatever you do. It's not just all about crochet, it's about writing, it's about, understanding how you want to creatively express yourself. And so there is three pillars for the workshop itself. We start off by creating dream catchers. So dream catchers are just are symbolic of being able to visualize what you're dreaming. That allows you yourself to connect your thoughts with your hands and visualize it. So you get to wake up, go to sleep to the same thoughts each day. Minimally, no matter who's around you, no matter who's maybe pouring into you or not pouring into you, you yourself understand that when you go to sleep at night, you have something to dream about. And when you wake up, you also have that same thing to dream about. Secondarily, we go into journaling. Now, journaling is very important of the process as well. We call it journaling your journey. And so when you're journaling, you want to go through and kind of create your thoughts and give it some action by just writing, right? So if the thought is, oh, today I'm going to connect with this person, it's your responsibility also within your steps to go back, a few days later, a month later, to write out how successful you were executing the plans that you wrote out. And eventually, at some point, you get to a point where you're writing down a whole list of plans and you can execute in a day. You come back and say, hey, girl, you really did that. Right. But while you're in the process of training your thoughts and training your steps, it's important to think about it here. So think and link it to your hands, write it down, and then come back. Ultimately, throughout the program of doing the Believe in What You Dream, just workshops and doing the activation in different locations, once we go back, we can go back to the girls and have them go through what they've been able to journal. Now, if you're anything like me or most of us, when we're journaling, it's hard to stay consistent. And so that's where the crochet piece comes in, because now you have an opportunity to think and link still, because it's three ways to think and link, right? We have the visual aspect. We have also the repetitive asset of like making yourself involved by writing. So now you're manifesting. So crochet comes in because it's a way to connect it all together and just show how each part is all of one of whole, like it's three parts of a whole. And the reason for that is that when you're learning to crochet, there's literally only about 5-6 stitches that you're going to learn. Everything else becomes a pattern based on a combination of those 6 stitches. And that concept right there is what I'm utilizing as a way to easily, again, manipulate the thoughts to understand like, hey, if I can do this on this small level with this colorful yarn that just looks good and I can create something, what can I utilize, this skill set, how can I utilize this skill set to manipulate my own life to get the things that I really, really want? And so that's pretty much the program. However, also in addition to those 3 parts, inside what I'm calling the Dream Girl Kit, because we're working with girls and they're having dreams, so we call it the Dream Girl Kit. Inside the Dream Girl Kit, each girl will get, of course, the journal, all the materials that's needed to do the full workshop. But it's going to be very important, and it has been very important in the past and up until this point, to kind of address the social disparity that can potentially put a girl in a place where maybe she's lacking a little bit of confidence in the area of like, a major area is, personal hygiene and having proper sanitary products to just stem a cycle. And, cycles aren't going anywhere. That's, part of our lifestyle as women. We have to have our cycles. They come once they come every month, and they're very, consistent. You can't even pray them away if you wanted to. So instead of, alienating, some of these girls are being alienated. They're being isolated. They're not going to school. They're dropping out. They're becoming moms right away almost. And there's an easy way we can address it in a very, humane way, or, like one that has humility, give them pride and let them know, like, this is something that empowers you. Let us give you some things that'll help you get understanding of how you can get through each month, because it's going to be a part of your life moving forward, right? So we're giving them products along with, soaps and lotions that, kind of go with the aspect of just covering all aspects. So we don't have to deal with additional smells and, things that are going to ward off or cause other kids to make fun, because kids are going to be kids regardless. And then a major aspect also is power or energy, personal energy. And so I made a decision 3 years ago when I was working on this project of how to really address this power issue. And the first thing that came to mind was, of course, solar. And being able to do it on the individual level, connecting it to a personalized like energy. And so we decided to do lamps. So that's pretty much the Dream Girl Kit. And I kind of throw extra products in there to really help further encourage and empower girls, to let them know that, hey, complete strangers, potentially first time meeting, but hey girl, this is something that worked for me. And I want to leave this with you so you can see how well it works for you too. And that's pretty much the program. And so I'm making these super cute granny square beanies because, as I started off this conversation by saying, I spend a lot of time with my grandmother, and I'm the granny square queen, by the way. And so I decided to make these beanies because we are moving into, a new season. 2020 has been a crazy year. Of course, we all are familiar because we get to wake up and go to sleep to it every day. But we also can do something great for someone else that makes us feel good. So with the purchase of this beanie or one like it, or whatever color combination that you like, you get to impact and empower 2 girls. So for every one beanie, that's 2 girls. And we get to have a great opportunity to share the power of creativity to empower girls around the world. So I just wanted to show you a few more projects that I've been working on with Granny Squares because I just love them. So one Granny Square can turn into many things. I have made a bunch of things that relates to lifestyle of travel. So this is kind of like a pillow I can take anywhere, My arm is hurting, it just kind of ends up crazy places. Sometimes it's just in photos just randomly because I'm like intensely sitting over a computer or, combing through yarn to find new colors or not go to the store and buy more yarn because I already have a problem. But yeah, so this is a pillow. It can be a throw pillow, of course. But yeah, I just kind of use it in that way. So pillow. Sometimes I use these as coasters, and since we are having a sip and stitch, how about we have a little sip before this goes over? And then you put your coaster down. But yeah, so I'm gonna start. I like to start these days and anytime I'm getting ready to crochet by simply making a yarn ball. Because you don't want all of this yarn to get all tangled up, and it really gets frustrating at the end of the day, at the beginning of the day, and while you're going through. And so I like to do yarn balls to keep my mind aligned with being creative and focus on having good energy for whatever I'm getting ready to make, especially if it's for someone else. So I essentially just wrap 5 times around my hand. Actually, this is more than 5 this time, but it's okay. 5 times, and you want to do kind of like you take your yarn that you have here and you want to do like a bow tie, which is why I wrap more than 5 times so everyone can see. So take your little bow tie, and then you want to fold the pieces over like so, like that. And just want to keep turning. And then ultimately start getting the inner workings of a ball or the outer workings of one. And just keep on going. So just keep on going. So one of the things about yarn balls that I must say, I guess, is that I feel like they're a lot like life. Sometimes you get on a roll and you get into a rhythm so well and you end up falling out of the rhythm, and I need to drink some of this down before it spills over. Fresh pineapple, strawberry, some blueberries, some agave tequila that I picked up in Jalisco tequila when I was able to travel the world, get on the plane and go. Which I have some friends who, have conquered fears, I guess, and have gotten on planes and they're going places and they're like, I can't believe you're not going anywhere. And I'm like, I can't believe you're going somewhere. For real. So I'm just going to do a few rounds. I'm not going to take the whole time because I actually do want to make sure I get granny square done. Trying to make sure I hold on to that fact that every time we come together on Sundays, that minimally I should be making a granny square. All other Sundays I've attempted to complete things. So I actually made this on one of the sip and stitches earlier on because I've been on this game for about 3 months, 4 months, something like that. So I appreciate you all tuning in and, encouraging me. Hey, hey. So this is the pound of yarn. I'm actually using it to make another backdrop that I'm doing in all gray. That's going to be super dope. I'll let you guys see it when I'm finished before I send it out to my client. But I have a photographer who's super interested in having a backdrop, of course, and we're doing all gray so he can have some flexibility around changing the colors out because, you know, this is a lot of color for a lot of people. I love it. You know, it puts me in a really great space, but I can understand the versatility of having gray because you put it in Photoshop and then you can change the colors and it looks really, really dope. So you guys check it out. But catching up on believe in what you dream, you know, I think a lot of people have asked, or have been curious, I should say, about how I'm planning on pivoting given the fact that I'm not able to travel. And I've already actually been doing Zoom versions of the workshop. So I've recently been in talks with an organization in South Africa, because that is going to be the next location, where we're teaching girls in South Africa to crochet. Also partnering with an organization that's US based, with the goal of connecting girls from state to continent and, you know, back. So you all stay posted on that operation because it's going to be launching in a couple months and I'm super excited. One thing about quarantine for sure, it has given me the capability to hone in a little bit more on concentrating on projects, to be done from the comforts of, you know, the flight deck in here, you know, that can happen right on the computer and still can connect across the board. Hey, I'm just making yarn balls for other projects that I'm working on. Okay, but yeah, I'm gonna make new granny squares so I can work on a new hat. You know, I made this other rule for myself that when I go live, that I also have to go through and shoot at least TikTok videos while we're still up and running. So I've been pushing myself to shoot as many videos as possible, not only on TikTok, but also just here doing some explanations about the program. So for those who are just tuning in, this is Estelle Ladybug of Yarn Movement, depending on where you're coming in. I am the pilot, and call myself a pilot because I believe that once you make a decision to really step out and do something that not a lot of other people are doing, that you also have to kind of jump in your own pilot seat and take flight. And I've been in flight for over 20 years now. So I've been, you know, I have some skin in the game as far as being a crocheter, designer, and also owning my own business. So about 4 years now, I decided to start a nonprofit, where I'm working with the next generation of crocheters and artisans with the goal of not only theoretically empowering their minds, but also economically empowering their minds. And if it's not crochet, it could be something else. But for crocheters, the goal is to help them get, you know, very good to the point that it's, you know, industry good and sellable. And we can turn around the stories and turn it into something where it's a goal and a thought where everyone has like a story to tell, to sell, and to inspire. And if we can do any three of those or all three at the same time, that opens up space to help the next crocheter really build out their business or artisan. So that has been my focus because, you know, when you get down to it and you get to a point where you understand the value of partnering and very empowering like this group of creatives together, you really begin to understand your value and your wealth and your worth. And just for an example, for any like crocheters or, you know, brands out there who are just watching, a story that I can share is, you know, I first started my first line in 2001. And I did a fashion show while I was a student at Howard University. There were buyers at our show, and the minimum of purchase to be in a store was 200 pieces. And at that time, I just started making swimwear. I was making, and it wasn't even full swimwear. I was only doing bikini tops. And the next week after that, I received a call to make some bralettes for a music video. Turns out the music video was Sean Paul's Give Me the Light video. And I had priced for nothing like that. I mean, I hadn't even really had a plan or a thought. I just was doing what I thought I loved, of course, and doing it for extra money on campus because I just had this concept in my head that minimally I wasn't going to be a starving student, And so after kind of having those experiences, it just put me in a space where, okay, I'm not going to kill myself to fulfill a minimum order of 200 pieces just so I can be in a store without having quality control. I immediately thought like, hey, this is an opportunity to partner with other crocheters. And during the time, I really didn't know a whole lot of them because, I mean, prior to that, I was in high school and I was spending like time with my grandmother and her friends. And, they empowered me because they had, many of them had been crocheting for years. So, but it wasn't a whole lot of people around me who were doing it. And I was still in that space where people were making fun, like, oh, you're such a little granny, so to be in a space where, you have a buyer in front of you who's ready to put your clothing or, product in their store, the minimum order of 200, it was something that it ended up working out because we were able to kind of stretch out the deliverable time. But immediately after I was done, and even throughout the process, because keep in mind, I was a full-time college student in my room, sweat shopping, and just trying to just make it work out. I knew then that I needed to come up with a plan and how it was going to work out. And so therefore that concept of flight plan kind of came out of that. And another scenario that kind of pops up in my mind too has to do with the different stages of, like supply chain. It's one thing when you're creative and you're the one providing the product, but, this came from somewhere, so it had to come from another step of a supply chain. So while I was traveling, I studied abroad to Oaxaca, Mexico, and I stayed there for 3.5 months. And I spent a lot of time, I was working in a clinic and I was going into a cultural school. So I was learning language, working at a clinic and, exploring the town around basically. And I ended up stumbling upon what was a manufacturing source, what I found out. And it was this group of women and men, and they were making yarn from either sheep wool or some plants that were being like really cool process that had some like really great stretch to it. They were working with silks and plant-based dyes, and it opened my mind up because they were making yarn, and it ended up being carpets and making clothing and doing cross-stitch embroidery, like something that was very familiar to me because I spent a lot of time with, of course, this older generation that it was just a part of their lifestyle to do things with their hands. And, basically over the matriculation of, development of this brand and my business, I've been able to work with artisans through different steps to get certain things done. And, at this point, I understand again the value of not trying to do everything by machine. I understand the love that we put into things when we're working with our hands. And it's again that connection of being able to think and link, or even just link our love and emotion into the things that we're making. Literally, we are almost in a space where we're putting silent prayers in the things that we're creating, which is why it's important for me personally to make yarn balls before I start working, because again, even the slightest stitch of wrong energy could impact whoever is getting it. So And again, that's just my thought and my journey of like the way that I work. But it's led to this time now where, you know, on a younger level, where there's this generation of girls that are being worked with, helping them understand the value of what they're creating and their own value. You know, so by the time that they're of age to want to start a business and go to the next level, whatever it looks like, they understand minimally how much it could start off. You know, many of us, when we're starting businesses, you know, we'll do a lot for free, you know, but if we can put a price tag on what that a lot actually looks like and what it could look like, it's very helpful in the process of being able to scale. So right now, you know, I know my price point. I know how much I'm worth. I know how much it requires me to put into the pieces that I'm doing. I mean, I'm sourcing, you know, yarn still internationally. I'm working with communities, especially of women. Of course, is women focused, because when I'm looking out in any crowd, my eye is going to gravitate to a fine man, and of course, that's in the crowd. But also, it's going to gravitate and see what's going on with the women who are in the area. And so, you know, I'm working with women who are plant-based dyeing, you know, with the goal of being able to put money into the communities where they are, because again, you know, it may be underdeveloped in a way where a few, I mean, like $20 can go a long way in a lot of countries. So if I'm going through and I can just order, you know, yarn or hooks, or, you know, even just things that are already made, like some of the handbags that I have, that's going into the international marketplace that's being worked on now. It will be launching at the end of this month, called Addiction. So it's Addiction by Yarn Movement. And it's literally women and men or artisans that I've met around the world who just really do really, really, really great work. You know, whether it's leather smithing, you know, I met some really great leather smithers in, you know, Mexico and Panama, on continent in Africa. Even when I went to East Europe, you know, there's some really great people who are tucked away in these like small shops that are really doing incredible work, that deserve the opportunity to have their craftsmanship valued in a way where, you know, you can get some really, really, really great woven pieces, some really great, you know, doesn't really even matter the material that's being used, and be hand beaded or whatever it may be. But when you see how much work goes into it, and you figure out like, wow, damn, you almost giving away your, you know, you're almost giving this away, to the point where they're like, oh, you think that's something? And they bring out this amazing other piece of work that they're like, yeah, this is what I really want to do, but I got to do this because this just pays the bills. That resonates with me, you know? So, all that to be said, that's what Yarn Movement is about. Yarn Movement is about. So when you hear is the global fashion and lifestyle brand, that's what it's about. For me, it's about travel. You know, I've gone the route. I've had a store. I opened up the first co-op in DC. It's on U Street, main, you know, most popping street in DC, you know. But for me, it's not about being stationary. I love traveling. And I always said, if I had an opportunity to do what I love and to travel and meet people constantly, and we can make money together, let's do it. So that's the tip I'm on. And, you know, I'm currently working with a few other crocheters to help them with their branding, you know, to help them get their story together while understanding why they're doing it, make sure the price point is correct. So to help streamline, because really at the end of the day, if you're not in a place where you're producing 10 grand or more each month, you should not call yourself in business, right? And if you're open to hearing from all of my mistakes, because I've made mistakes over the years, over these 20 years, of course, and I view them as lessons that I can utilize moving forward to a place now where I understand all money is not for me. Everything that is an opportunity, if it does not fit into my brand, it's not something I need to do, but it doesn't mean that it can't work for someone else. And it'll be nice to have an opportunity to throw some business to other crocheters or other artisans who I know who are working equally as hard for this part that they love, and avoid or help them avoid some of the things that I went through. You know, thank God I didn't, you know, find myself in a space where I was so hungry for money that I tried to kill myself to, you know, hit deliverables, because It just wasn't something that popped up as something that was valuable to me. And so, and it's something that you have to kind of, either hear from a person you can trust, a person who's been through it, who can understand, like, hey, I understand giving leftover energy to something you love where you're working a 9 to 5. My background, I'm a scientist. I was working full time as a scientist, working on pilot testing pharmaceutical drugs. Meanwhile, when I get home at night, I'm working almost 2 hours before I have to be at my job, just so I can do this part that I really love, which is creating clothing and doing shows. But you got to pay your bills, of course. So, and so when you talk about that jump and being able to leave security to go into this unknown world, it's best to have a plan. Because I'll tell anybody right now, if you're working on a brand and you have a job, a lot of people are saying, oh, I can't wait till I don't have this job anymore, when I'm able to do things full time. A moment like this, when COVID hit, should let you know, how secure you are in that concept. And, it's small things, hearing just little small tips that, me, myself, I wish somebody was there to just like, hey, girl, you should be doing this way, right? As opposed to like, oh, I'm gonna let her hit the wall. And, thankfully, by the, blessing of God, I didn't have to hit a wall. I figured it out before I hit it. Because, again, if you're in this pilot seat, if you see yourself about to hit the ground, you're going to pull up. If you're going through some turbulence, people you're trying to work with, and it just doesn't feel right, moving forward, that feeling, that's your turbulence. You know how to get out of there, move away. Like, yeah, you might lose some time, some money, but it's better in the long run because you can take the lessons and, throw them into your utility box and keep on going, and ultimately, hopefully find those people who understand to a point where you align. Y'all can make some money together. You can travel together if you want to, but ultimately you just hit your own personal goal and keep going and keep, leveling up, because, that's what it's about, being on flight and being who you are. And what I like to always say is embrace your dopeness, because embracing your dopeness means that you understand that you don't need a whole lot of outside entities to do the things that you want to do. As long as you have a thought and you understand how you're going to execute it, you also will know that when you do need help, you know exactly what you're asking help for, versus going to someone and be like, I don't know what's going on and I just need help. I've been there. And that puts a lot of pressure and onus on somebody else to try to come in and fix your life. You don't want that. You want to understand where you're going, have at least like an idea of something planned out or set down, and like at least bullet points, like this is what I would like to do, because that right there puts you in a space where you can bypass a lot of BS. So that is my goal with this younger generation and those individuals who are now clients of mine, to help them get through the turbulence, start off with a solid understanding of what a plan is going to look like. Because I think we all kind of understand the fact that we're passionate about it. Passion is your innate spirit, your innate skill set that God has blessed you with, that it's not something that comes from nobody outside. You already know what it is. And you know it because when you think about what you care about most in life and the things that make you happy, it's connected there. And so now it's about finding a purpose that's going to really put you in a position where you're helping people. Because as long as you're going through helping people with what you're most passionate about, you will never have a work or job in your life. You're just living the life that you love. And having a plan on how you're going to continue to do that will be important, because it goes passion, purpose, plan, and then profit out. Save and just keep going. So that right there requires some kind of level of logic that, just got to learn. You got to learn the logic part. But passion, that's there. Purpose, that's dealing with people or objects, or if you make pet clothing, you're still making it for the owner, even though you're making for the pet. So I'm almost done with this, guys. Look at that. Almost a pound worth of yarn just done. Then I'm going to make a granny square, and then I'm going to leave y'all alone until the next time. But before I do go, because that is the point, I am fundraising for the nonprofit. If you're interested in sponsoring a Dream Girl Kit, again, the Dream Girl Kit is for the girls who are going to be going through the program. Our program is for ages really 14 and 19. Over the years, I have included other ages because when you start getting into other countries, the rules as far as schooling and education is not so much divided how it is here. It's kind of based on a knowledge set, what kind of tests you can take and how long you've been in school. So I have worked with girls 10 and up, but the focus is 14 to 19. Because they're normally the ones that are on their cycles, and they're about, a couple of years into making this jump into adulthood, and being on their own and independent. So before they make that jump, giving them a few steps to just utilize along their journey to help them, create their own flight plan. So in addition to that, they're getting all the materials for the workshop, and then personal hygiene products and sanitary products. And the sanitary products, last year we used an organization by the name of AfriPad. So AfriPad is a business that's based in Uganda, because last year we went to Tanzania. And the AfriPads is woman-owned and woman-run, and they do reusable sanitary products. So the products that they use are, the material that they use is washable. And it's said to have a 3-year lifespan. And they come in packages similar to the way that sanitary products are being sold here in the States, where they're packaged individually. They have this packet that you can slide it back into, close it up for washing later, and you wash it, dry it, and you can use it. And it's about 5 inside. So it gets them through, to sustain their cycle for the time that they have it. And again, they can wash them and put them up. So I'm thinking this time we're probably going to go with a different type of product, but we have to kind of keep in mind the environment, because we are also going in certain areas where running water is not, running water is a luxury. So thinking about what is required on the washing tip and how they're going to remain sustainable is something that's still being worked out a little bit based on each location, because each location is different. When I was in Morocco, there wasn't really a water issue, but it was somewhat of a power issue in certain areas. So yes, we address that social disparity, along with the fact that each girl will get a solar lamp, because power is the thing. If you can't control your power, which is a metaphor for life too, if you're not the one in power, you're also not the one in control. So giving them that understanding that, this is your power that you can run. It's rechargeable by sun, so we don't have to worry about batteries and being able to plug in, because many locations, they weren't set up to have outlets plugged in, and so they're getting solar lamps, they're getting the materials needed for the workshop. Of course, we have to be creative with the way that part is working now, which we can send everything. The relationships are already set. I work with NGOs, so those are non-government organizations, where a part of the traveling that I've been doing over the course of the last, 10, 15 years has been solidifying relationships to understand how it works at the borders and the ports, because there's a lot of opportunities for, corruptness to happen at the ports. And so without getting things hung up, I invested 100% of my proceeds from Yarn Movement for 4.5 years to make sure that things ran smoothly before I started collecting money from individuals, and requesting help. In addition, I'm at a point now where I know I've done as much as I can on my own. And for those who have a heart and compassion for empowerment of girls, now would be the time to jump in, because, I mean, just an example, last year, the goal was to work with 300 girls. We get there, the first school we went to, so the plan, because I believe in planning, so the plan was go to 10 schools and work with 30 girls, because no matter what, I know that in a setting of 2 hours, I can teach 30 girls to crochet, with the barriers of language being a barrier, with any factor being a barrier. I know that me personally, I can go into a room and teach 30 girls to crochet by myself if I had to. And so we chose 30 girls for each location. So we were going to 10 schools. So that would have been 300 girls. What we didn't know is that the first school we went to, each school actually we went to, but the first one we went to had 1,200 kids at the school. So if I just wanted to work with 300 girls, I could have stopped right then. But I had a whole 27 days more to be in the country. And I just took it as, again, another lesson. But also it was that moment where I'm like, okay, now's the time to reach out to other folks and see who's interested in traveling, to do this type of work, crocheting to, help fundraise, where we're making hats and we're selling them to build up funds for the organization. Of course, everything that's purchased through, the nonprofit becomes a write-off. So you get a double additive if that's what you're interested in too, where you have something cute to wear. And at the end of the year, when you're doing your taxes, you have something as a write-off. And also you pick up the story of being able to empower a girl that we get to follow over and over again. So, and you have the trust of an organization that's been doing it for 4.5 years. And I get to come online every Sunday and show my face, share the stories. So you understand that, I'm a real person. These are the steps and the things that have brought me to where I am today, and how important it is moving forward. And if that sounds like something that you can get behind and you want to contribute in any way, if it's contribution you want to make, visit donate.yarnmovement.com. If it's a sponsorship you want to do, feel free to contact me. You can hit me at info@at yarnmovement.com. You can send me a message in my inbox. I'm pretty much always on Instagram or always on Facebook. I'm not tied to my phone, but sometimes it seems like I am. So I would get the message. Please feel free to reach out. And if you just want to have a talk, or you want to ask questions about anything that I've discussed today or any other video, just hit your girl up and go, hey girl, hey. And I'm like, hey girl, let's talk. So let's make a yarn ball before I get out of here. I mean, a granny square before I get out of here. So let's pick some colors. I'm wearing red. I have some pink here. So let's just use these colors that are in front of me. Let's start with the gray. So, as always, to make a granny square, you want to do a slip knot. So I'm starting with gray since I sat here and made this whole yarn ball. So yeah, I really appreciate you all coming in and, listening to my stories and, watching my videos and liking them. Put real energy into everything that I do. I'm really a stickler for, taking my thoughts and trying to bring them into reality. So Appreciate you all for checking in and being present with that. And again, when the world opens back up and you want to travel, let's go. I go fun places and it's always a great experience. So let's talk about some of the places where I make this Granny Square here. So let's see. Of course, I went to Mexico because it's the first place I studied abroad. So I feel like Mexico is like my second home. And I've been all over Mexico. So if you have questions about Mexico, I might be able to be of help maybe to answer some questions, possibly. But let's see, Mexico, Panama. Panama is popping. I messed up because I didn't go to Colombia while I was there, but I was with a group, so I had to do group stuff, I guess. Plus, my boy was getting married, so I was one of the best women. So, let's see where else. Jamaica, St. Croix, Croatia, Paris, London, Iceland, Tanzania, Ghana. Well, no, I haven't been to Ghana yet. That is the plan. Ghana and South Africa, Nigeria, Dubai. There's some places I'm missing, like Copenhagen. Okay, Copenhagen. Yeah. Well, anyway, if any of those places sound, exciting to you, you just wait until the world opens back up because this pilot is gonna be going some places. Okay. Let's do this little other pink over here. So I'm just making a granny square just to close out our conversation for today. Figure out what I'm going to do with it later. You guys just keep these colors in mind. See what happens after. I want to do that. Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to remember when I learned how to do a granny square. I mean, of course, it was during the time spent with my grandmother and her friends, but it wasn't the first thing I learned how to do. I was all amped, ready to make something, and I was making these crazy lopsided hats that I guess they weren't really lopsided, but but my goal was to make beanies, and they were definitely turning out to be like berets, and I was like, that's not what you tried to do, but go ahead, girl. Let's see. Let me see what my family's doing. There we go. So we have pink and gray so far. So let's just build on top of that. And I'm gonna get some dinner because I'm so hungry. But again, if you all have any questions, just feel free. If you're on live and you want to chat, let's chat. My current projects are actually not granny square beanies. They're bikinis and working on my line for winter so I can start doing my shoots now to gear up for the holiday season. But it's still, swimwear time. So I'm actively working on my men's wear. So I make what I call the Corrado, which is something like a sanga, I guess. But I've spent the time over the years to do the research required to understand what kind of yarn should be used to make it swimmable. When I first started making swimwear, again, it was just all about making the bralettes and making something that was just cute enough, I guess, that, women can just wear out. And ultimately, over the years, I wanted to make it so it could be something that they can swim in. And about maybe 3.5 years now, I've decided to launch the male swimwear line. And so I keep it small, so it's something I have somewhat control over on the quality control. So I'm doing the Corrado, which is the bottom, and I do the cable tank tops, which are just really chunky cable tanks, which I think that maybe you all have seen, but I'll be sure to post some pictures this week um, of my clients over the years because I have endless photos. Which folks told me I should, I was asking questions on, I had to sing about not posting old photos. But now, with all the different social media things that happen, like Throwback Thursdays and Flashback Fridays and, way back Wednesday, it's just like, oh, yeah, man, let me go through and start posting some stuff. Hey, girl, hey. So I'll be sure to post some photos, mix it up with my new stuff because I'm a content creator. The other night when I was doing the video that I recently posted of the Go Crazy Challenge, man, I sat here and I shot like 100 videos. And I think also since, Cheeto has been threatening to take away TikTok, I figured I might just go through and just one day, if it happens, I got like 120 TikTok videos. I could just like, boom, every minute. So, yeah, so that's what I do over here. When people say, so what have you been doing? Well, I've been in the house and I literally have taken quarantine by heart. So I've only been out the house 2 times since February 25th. One time to get my car serviced. So I decided I was going to drive to San Francisco because I don't want the people talking about me. I'm like, oh, you let your car sit. The battery's going to be dead. Da, 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 da. So I drove to the city, took a little brisk walk across the bridge and, let my hair hang out, took a picture and came home. Then second time, I went and got my hair braided because I got sick of doing my hair. And it's just like, what are you doing your hair for? You ain't going nowhere. But literally when I go live, I get fully dressed, do some makeup, look cute, and so where am I going? Going to have a photo shoot in the house. But yeah, I had to get my hair braided. I'm not playing no more. Might as well, grow some hair out, do some different stuff, something. So people on Facebook, I know y'all feel like I'm talking randomly but I'm not. I'm just making granny squares. Welcome to the Sip and Stitch. It is Sunday. This is the day that I make granny squares live, even though I have a board full of projects that I need to finish up. But yeah, because the granny squares are all about these granny square beanies that I'm making. These granny square beanies are being used to fund the Believe in What You Dream workshops that are now actually have to go virtual because of COVID and because people don't like wearing masks, and I'm not going to put my life at risk for other people. So if you're interested in making a contribution, why don't you get you a beanie so you can look cute and then or fly, whichever one. And the proceeds from the purchase of the beanie will go towards the program. Yes, you do need a jacket. You're right. Just, let me know when you're ready and, I'll make it happen for you. But in the meantime, if you're interested in making a purchase of Yarn Movement, you want to go to products with an s.yarnmovement.com to make your custom orders there. And then if you're interested in making a donation to the nonprofit, that is a taxable, contribution. Please go to donate.yarnmovement.com and make your donation there. Thanks, girl. So this one's going to be a beanie once I finish all 8 squares, which is not going to happen today because I have to finish. I'm working on 2 backdrops, but I need to finish one by next week. And so I need to go ahead and put the energy and time into making it so I can get it to my client because it's already paid for. But yeah, I love these backdrops because they just work out. They make me happy. They're all colorful. He was just like, I don't need all of that color, but yeah, I like the backdrop. So I'm doing it in all gray, which is perfect for him. I am putting some texture into it. So I'm doing shades of gray with a design, which is going to be perfect for whatever shoot. He can color block it or, do some Photoshop after to change the color. So gray is just the easy color to do that with. So if you're a photographer or no one and you want to work with a backdrop and you want to have one of your own, it's a great investment. And it goes towards a good cause. So this granny square is now complete. Whoop whoop. Now I can get me something to eat. Whoop whoop. Okay. So it's been great chatting with you folks. If you would do me the great pleasure and honor to go follow my page on YouTube, click that little bell to click subscribe, and encourage your friends to do the same. Because I'm giving good energy. It's a positive thing to be a part of. And we're inspiring and impacting lives together because we are promoting sharing the power of creativity to empower the world. And we're doing it in the spirit of granny squares because it reminds me of my childhood. And many of you, if you have grannies or grew up in a space where you had a loved one who spent time to make some incredible pieces for you, like granny square blankets, for instance, you understand. So this was the first granny square blanket that I made. This blanket is over 25 years old, 22 years old, something. Because I started my first business 20 years ago. So, but I was, working on projects before. But this blanket has been washed probably over 1,000 times. It has, you know, these balls of lint that I'm pulling off of. But most important, it has no holes outside of the ones that are just in the pattern itself, but no holes. It has managed to really maintain its structure. Uh-oh. Its structure over the years, and it's just made well. And so when you hear Yarn Movement, the reason why I say we are a global fashion and lifestyle brand, that was created to help consumers, those folks who are just like you. If you're in a process of, you buy things, we all buy things, but you're a consumer, you should spend some time understanding the story behind the things that you're purchasing, and understand how well it's made. Because if you're going to invest your money, you should invest your money into something that's going to last. And that's what Yarn Movement does, creates things that last. And we're working with other artisans to do the same. And so at this point in my career, I have launched an ability to help other people with their brands, fix their story, fix their business, help them find money, and help them understand, what it means to be in business and thrive, especially during a time such as this, where many of us, if we were in jobs, that weren't necessarily something we were passionate about. We have experienced some kind of level of being able to almost lose that job. We've been off. Our lifestyle has been in question. Well, for me, I've been full time as an entrepreneur for the last 6.5 years straight, and it's been incredible. And I've had a plan ultimately for if something like this or this day would come. And this day has come, and things have been very well. As a matter of fact, my business has thrived throughout COVID. And I'm in a space now where I'm putting my emphasis on where my support in my mouth has been, which is the support of other businesses, other brands, and especially Black owned. And not only Black owned in the States, but globally. And so that's exactly what's happening now. And today we're focusing on the next generation of artisans, and being able to give them the mindset needed to empower them throughout entrepreneurship without break and without gap, and understanding their value, understanding, what the price point they should put on things, and understand that every sale that they get, or all money is not good money for their brand, and understanding how to do this value proposition that has to be, present and attached throughout their brand. And so that's what we're doing with Yarn Movement. So things to look out for. We have a lot of projects that have been going on. So first being, of course, there's a retail brand, Yarn Movement. For products, you go to products.yarnmovement.com. Right now, the big hitters are swimwear, at least for the next couple months. And I'll be launching the winter fall collection right after. So I'll be doing some pre-sales. I'm doing sweaters, hats. These hats will be a part of that collection, but I'm actually doing beanies that are a different style. So I have two options of beanies. I'm doing sweaters. I have a corset crochet pants. And so different things, that are available with Yarn Movement. Then we have international marketplace for artisans that it's not only crocheters, but it's jewelry designers and, fabric textiles, and really, really cool things such as, jewelry that looks like this, that's coming from different areas, different regions around the world. So this is a necklace that's handmade. Here's a pair of earrings that are made by the same women. These are Maasai women. And I have a whole catalog of those type of things that are coming. I don't really have everything in here. It's actually in the other room getting set up for pictures and being able to do that. But the international marketplace is really set up for really just showing how people, when you go online, that your only options aren't Amazon. And when you're on Amazon, you don't have an opportunity to build relationships with artisans because we're actually really people, and we have an opportunity to hear your needs, hear your wants, and value what you're saying. So when you have something that's created for you and you love it, you can come back and go back to that same artisan and have them do it over and over again and create a bespoke collection for you that's all yours. So that's Addiction by Yarn Movement. So that's the international global marketplace. And then there is Fly Girls, which is the show where I'm highlighting women that I call fly girls. So beyond the aesthetic of being fly, of course, um, the log line for the show, if you have not watched it already, it's on YouTube. And it's an intimate look into the creative hustle through the stories of women who are dope. That's determined, optimistic, passionate, energized. And we go into their stories of how they decided to jump in the pilot seat of their lives and take off. Secondarily, or whatever, because it's actually the third or fourth, um, there is Believe What You Dream. So that's the nonprofit arm where it's all about the focus on helping young girls discover their superpower. So there's workshops. Right now there's Zoom calls. But it's about, really instilling the importance of creativity and understanding how you go through and encourage this build out of your tribe or your community that you can be creative with. Um, and then, we have the sip and stitch because, of course, when the world opens back up, we will be sipping and stitching in person. So look out for those. But I guess overall, more importantly, it's just about being able to build awareness, connect with folks, and share stories and do it over and over again in a way that is repetitive in a asset, in a space of just building out this creative space where we can share the power of creativity to empower the world. And with that being said, thank you all for your time. Bless you all for another great Sunday and a week ahead. This is Pilot S. Ladybug of Yarn Movement, and I will see you all next Sunday.